Hi, my name is Nagarjuna Kalluri, and my teammates are Manas Ranjan Mishra, Rahul Gupta, and Akash Sharma. We have developed a simple language called as CodeMe. It is a simple, it's a very simple language which is based on procedural constructs, and it follows a very simple syntax, which we'll discuss in the later part of this presentation. We'll quickly go over several highlights of the or several features that are supported by the language. There are here we basically support three different data types. That is the bool, integer, and float, which we support using a bool, number, and decimal. We also support arithmetic operations, relational operators, and assignment operations. And we support the iterative operations using the while construct, and we support the conditional operations using the if-else construct. We also have an inbuilt, we also developed an inbuilt function for printing the values of the variables, which we do it using show. And we also support the comments using this particular construct over here. And apart from this, we have also developed some additional functionalities with the support of the functions and nested loops. And here we'll quickly go over the workflow of the our language. So basically, we have the lexical analyzer, the parser, the compiler, and the runtime. The lexical analyzer and parser we have developed using the Antler version 4.7.1, and the compiler and runtime we have developed using Java. And once we set in the grammar, the lexical analyzer will give you the tokens, and the parser takes in the tokens and gives you the parse tree. And this parse tree is used to generate an intermediate code in the postfix notation by the compiler. And the runtime executor takes in this intermediate code and gives you the output. So it's as simple as that. Now we'll basically look at the few highlights of the grammar that we have taken in for developing this language. Basically, the variables should start with underscore. That is, here you can see the underscore var name here. So it can have any alphanumeric values of the variable names. And the data types, number is used to handle the integer type of data, the decimal is used for real or float type of data, and the bool is used for the boolean type of data. And there are also different operators that we support here. The arithmetic operators, as you can see here, the relational and binary relational operators, and assignment operators. As of now, we've restrained from supporting any unary operators for now. And as we have discussed earlier, the conditional statements we support it using if then else construct, and it is and the iterative statements we support it using the while construct. The looping conditions are supported using the while construct. And as discussed earlier, the comments and the printing is also supported by our language. And also currently we restrain from supporting any negative numbers with our language. So as part of the additional functionalities, we have developed this language to support any kind of functions, but there are several constraints in using these functions. The function has to be defined prior to using it, and it should have only one parameter, and it should start with a keyword func, and it should always return a valid return value. So we also support nested loops using this language. So here basically the parser that we have developed using the Antler, it will take in the program that it's a sample program over here. Here we just have a couple of numbers, and we are using the nested while loops over here. So basically it will generate a parse tree, as you can see here. And we'll look into the details of how it generates the parse tree and what it signifies in the later part of this presentation. And the compiler generates, as discussed now, the compiler generates this parse tree. And now the compiler takes in, the compiler takes in the intermediate, the compiler takes in this parse tree and generates the intermediate code. This also we've used Antler in Java for developing this compiler, and here you can see the parse tree and the intermediate code that has been generated, and how it exactly is generated. We'll look into it in the later part of this presentation, and my teammates will give you a deep insight into how we exactly used Antler and Java to come up with this postfix notation, and how the intermediate code is being generated. So coming to our runtime environment, here the input is the intermediate code, and here we use the hash maps and stacks for storage and tracking purposes. And it basically takes in the intermediate code, which is in the postfix notation, and generates you the gives you the output of the program that you have written using our language. So, and the output is displayed to the console here. So here you can see this is the basic function that we have, which is been passed into a parse tree by the parser. Now the compiler takes in this parse tree and gives you the intermediate code in the postfix notation, and the runtime environment, the executor, takes in this intermediate code and gives you this output. So my teammates will now continue giving you a deep insight into how we exactly do it. Thank you.
Hey, hi, this is Akash. I'm a part of Team 32, and we are writing our own language and grammar called CodeMe. So for now, I will be presenting you my grammar. So here's the program with statement plus and function block. So for in our grammar, we are starting with our statements. So our program follows first statement followed by a function declarations at the end of the grammar. As you can see, we have various rules for function block, function declaration statement, parameter list, begin statement. So it kind of follows the path of the C, not completely C, but it kind of resembles mostly the C part. Okay, in the function we have return statement, returns expressions, and for statement we have used four kinds of expression: basic expressions, compound expressions, print expressions, call expressions. So for call expression, you can see the call expression is used to call a function block. Basic expressions are used for assignment operations. Compound expressions are used for conditional expressions and iteration expressions. Conditional expressions includes if-else statements, and what constraint we have on the if-else statement is that for every if statement we have an else statement. We cannot just define just the if statement and go about it. And for the iteration, we have implemented while loops, and the advanced functionality we have implemented in the grammar is called is the nested if while loops that we have implemented. The next we have expressions. As you can see, we have removed all the left recursion from the grammar. We have variable assigns expression, call expressions, variable assigns value, boolean value, etc. And for the data type, I would like to mention in between, we have used three types of data type: boolean value, number, and the decimal value. So the decimal value is used to represent the real numbers with the decimal points, and the flow and the boolean value is used for the true and false values, and the number value is used for the integer values. Then we have the multiplication expressions, comparison expressions, conditional expressions, iteration expressions. All of these rules have, as I have mentioned, are displayed here, and these are based with the various data types like int, decimal, bool, and I will give you a live example of how the grammar runs and what kind of the parse tree it generates. So I just write a simple program. So I declare an integer data type called number. So for in a grammar, we are declaring the variables which only starts with underscore. So I have a number underscore x equals to 4. So this is the basic assignment operation that our grammar follows. So as you can see, the the parse tree generated here. So let me zoom on to it. So as you can see that the program generates the statements. Statements goes into a basic expression. As seen, you can see here, I can just show you the basic expression is the assignment operation, and the assignment operations follows the declaration statement equals to expression. So next, I'll show you if I'll implement a while loop. So while underscore x is less than 5, Okay, so we have a do. So this is the basic construct for the while loop, and we can see under x, so we can see underscore y equals to underscore y plus one. So basically in our language, before using the y, we must have to declare the y and initialize it to something. You can just say a random value. I just here initialize it with 10, and we end the while loop using a n while construct. So as you can see from here, I'll just let me zoom here for a minute. As you can see, this is the basic parse tree generated for my for this particular program in my grammar. So we have a program statement followed which generates statements, statement one, statement two, and each statement is like first one is the basic expression which follows an assignment operation. The second one is the assignment operation and another declaration statement. Then the second statement is the compound expression statement. So, so this is the basic grammars that we have implemented, and the next we will show you how it works and how all the parse tree is generated and how the runtime execution is handled in the Java using the Antler. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rahul Gupta, and I'm here to describe about the vista we are using to run our parse tree. Here you can see that we are using the program context, and through the program context, we are going to every children context to describe how things are parsing. Like if you can see in this block, we are using the program context, and we are going to the we are going to its children, and then in this block you can see we have a visit function block in which this language has support over function block, and through this we are parsing through every child of the function context. Like you can see here we are getting the child count, and then we are getting through the first child of the function context, and we are using the separator. And that one thing about this language is we are using this stack machine model, and in the stack machine model we are using the postfix. Like if you have x is equal to 10, then we are using 10, and another line there will be the value x, then it will be equal to. When it will be equal, when the operator comes, then both the operands will get added, or any function can be performed on them. And we have for this function we have a return expression also. For this we have used the parameter list also, and in this function actually we can only parse only one argument, and this is supported only with one argument. And we have a return expression because one value will be returned from the function. And when we get to the visit statement will go and look into the statement context of the statement context and go into the children of the statement. And we have a support of basic expression, compound expression in the expressions. And in the assignment operation, as you can see, again we are going to the children count, and then to the children count we are here. But basically we are handling different cases, and like there is any error or something, then we can handle it here. Like you can like there is an example, like if there is an x is equal to y, then both x and y should have the same data type. If they don't have the same data type, then our language doesn't support that. You must have the same data type. And you can see there is a vision expression. Through this we can go to the multiple expression also. We have done that because multiple expression we put it separately in the grammar also, because we wanted to handle the plus minus multiply and divide operator separately, like there should be a precedence in between them. So we are handling that also in this. And as you can proceed, there is a multiple expression up here, and we are handling multiple expression to this function. And we are handling comparisons also, and there are different separators. We print them, we count the childs and go one by one down there. We have a conditional expression also. The condition operator we are using here, and we are using a go-to, and then we are going up and down on that. And we are using the iteration syntax also, and we are again here we are using a child count, and to the child count we are going to go to, and while we get the go to, and we go down on that and come up. And we have a print expression also. To the print expression, we are printing one variable, and the support in our language is only for one variable for printing. And there is support for data type, and we are using the data type here. And basically, what this is doing is we are getting the data type context here, and we are giving the data type of each data. And the last expression here we have is a visit call expression. This expression is there because we want to call our function separately down the function, because as we already know that our function only supports when the function is written in the last, and we can call the expression from above.
Hello all, I'm Manas here. As my teammate explained about the visitor code, once our code progresses to the visitor, the intermediate code gets generated and gets stored in the text file. Once our code gets stored in the text file, then the the executor starts its processing, where it parses the intermediate code from top down in a top down manner, and then extracts the file line by line and starts processing it. Let's go through how exactly the executor processes. So this is the executor code. As you can see, in this we are creating an object of the file where the intermediate code is being stored to the buffer reader object, and then processing it using the buffer reader object, and while extracting it line by line. We are primarily checking how exactly the code is structured. Like there are separate keywords and operators for our language. So based on the keywords or operators, how exactly it is, the keywords or operators, for every keyword and operator we have a separate process. And then likewise, if it is not a keyword and operator, we are primarily identifying it as an identifier, whether it is a function name or the name of a variable or whatever it is. So based on that particular identifier, we have a separate set of processes. So what we are doing is, as in the activator code it was explained, we have a kind of a label for moving around the iteration statements or the function blocks, or be it the conditional statements. So we search whenever we encounter an iteration statement or a looping construct, we search for wherever there is a go to keyword. As you can see over here, there is a go to keyword. We search for the go to keyword, and then we have a label just immediately under it. So based on the condition, whether it is a true condition or a false condition, we search for the entire file where exactly that label is. We go down the file from that particular position and search for where exactly that label is. If at all we reach the end of the file, as you can see, we're checking the null condition. If we go down, if it is the end of the file, we reset the reader and it starts again searching from the top again. And whenever it finds that particular label, it executes the immediate statement after that. So what it does is it extracts one variable at one line at a time, because since we are storing one token into the line through the visitor, so we are actually extracting one token from a particular line, and that token is being pushed to stack, if at all it is a variable or a value. Whenever an operator is encountered, as you can see, there is a set of conditions for keywords and operators. So whenever an operator is encountered in an activator code, it pops from the stack those two operands and start the operation on top of it. So here is the execute function block. So since the function block stack is a separate stack, what we did is we created a local set of variables for the function block, and then we are having the stack scope only just for the execute function block function. So once the function is executed, we are removing all the parameters for the function block, and then the data, so that the data that is being stored in the function block for that particular scope gets purged while the program is processing. And there is also a master scope where the data for the rest of the variables where the function is being called that are outside the function are being stored. So these two data are completely separate and operate on a separate set of stack. As my teammate suggested that we are using hash map in Java for the entire storage and the operations. So here also basically we are using a hash map container where we are storing the name of the variables as the keys of the hash map, and the value is basically an array list. That array length of the array list is 2, where the first element of the array list is the data type of the particular identifier, and the second is the value stored. So we have a lot of options in our language. Like only declaring the variable that is the data type followed by the variable. We have also like variable equal to some kind of an initialization. We have also data type variable and then an assignment operation and then some kind of an initialization or some kind of an expression directly. So our language, the executor takes care of the entire runtime logic through the intermediate code that has been generated from the visitor. So what it does is it goes in a postfix manner, as I've already explained, and then extracts it, and then finally keeps on pushing from the stack and popping into the stack based on the object map and the local or the master stack, that whatever it is based whatever in the block it is there. So there is a master object map which stores the variables details, and the local stack which stores the corresponding values and the operation details. Let me go through how exactly we're executing the code. So what we have here is a compile codeme.jar where our basically the activator, the visitor function gets executed and it generates the intermediate code. So once we have the compiler codeme.jar, this is for a sample file. So once the sample file is generated, this basically generates an intermediate code. Intermediate code, as I've already said, that it is in a postfix notation. And then once the intermediate code is generated in a particular path, we can run our runtime.jar to extract and start the executor processing on this particular intermediate code file and then finally execute it. So this is the program for displaying a multiplication table. Here our multiplication table is inside a function, and the function is having a while loop construct, which nested while loop in fact, which operates on a table of 2 and multiplies it from a 0 to 10 manner and displays it. The current value of result is actually the form of show that the print part we have all right now hard coded it. So whatever the value is, that will be stored, but in our language that can be changed anytime. So that was one of the functions, and then we can also execute one more jar for a sample time. So this is one more jar, that's a basic program, and to run it up. So what it shows is for the first 4 numbers, that's a very simple program, and we are storing and you are using to print the first 4 numbers starting from 1. So it the compiler jar compiles the program and then generates the intermediate code, and from the intermediate code the executor then picks it up and then finally generates the list of numbers that has been displayed in the console. So that was the sample part, and let me just go through a little bit details about the function identifier, which is one of the key additional functionality along with the nested looping. So as I've already explained, there is a separate construct for function identifier, which function identifier basically what we are doing is we are passing the local object map or the master object map, and we're reusing the set of codes, and so that the processing speed is faster whenever it is processing a particular element for a local or for a global variable, as in compared to the function perspective. And then the execute function block is called over from the master block whenever it encounters label, and then that starts with basically underscore, as our variable names of any identifier starts with underscore. So we have mentioned the label for that particular function to go to that particular function as an underscore. So whenever it encounters that particular condition, it immediately reads where that particular function is starting and starts the execution from the function block. And once the function block execution is done, it then returns back to that particular statement and then starts again the execution. So even if variable assignment is done in the and with the return part of the function block, that still handles it. Right now we have not done with the recursion part, but maybe that might be some of the future scope. So the functions needs since we are going from the top to bottom down manner, from the top to bottom, the function needs to be defined at the end of the file, because if the functions are not defined, the variable, the particular identifier of the function or the function name will be displayed as a not defined variable. That's our only limitations while defining the functions. It can take one parameter as well and then return a value. So that's all from the executor point of view, which takes the intermediate code and finally generates the required output. Thank you.